What's up, Server Nation? My name is Michael Reid, the podcast server, and you are listening to Process Server Daily. On this podcast, we interview the top legal support professionals and get the tips, tools, and tactics that they use to get the job done and build a successful company. I'm a big fan of storytelling, and I'm excited about today's guest. Before we get started, let's give a big shout out to my new sponsor, Serve Manager. They have a special gift for all of my listeners at the end of today's episode. Okay, Server Nation, we are joined here by the owner of Love to Serve Them LLC. He has 20 years of experience serving papers both privately and for Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. He has covered Los Angeles County and surrounding counties in Southern California since March of 2012. Dave Luce, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike. Glad to be here.
Awesome, Dave. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the industry.
Well, I started serving papers in 1996. What had happened is the company I was working for, the Northridge earthquake happened and basically imploded our office in the owner's house. And so that business went away. And I was in the bar one night and talking to one of my high school friends who had an attorney service. I was like, why don't you come work for me for a while? And it's like, yeah, I'm not doing anything else right now. And within a couple of months, I started noticing that these attorneys were asking, hey, we want this Dave guy to go serve it. And probably about 6 months later, that business went belly up. So I'm like, well, hey, I'll just go get the license and bond. And then I went back to all these attorneys. It's like, hey, I'm in business for me now. I just do the process service. Let the attorney service do your other stuff. So I already had kind of a built-in clientele.
That's awesome, Dave. Do you have a family?
Yeah, I have a family. One daughter, was a single parent for her. And we moved back in with my mom a couple years ago to help take care of her. She's 83 now.
That's really cool. Yeah, family's really important. How old's your daughter?
She's 21.
Wow, that's cool. Adult kids. I look forward to that day.
Yeah. Cherish the time now.
Yeah, that's what I hear. So, Dave, there's a reason why you're on the show. You have a lot going on. You're, I watch you on Facebook and the different things, hearing your posts about the different awards that you've won and things like that. So I'm really excited to hear your story. Lots of good stories I'm sure that you have, but we always start here, Process Server Daily. We start with your worst experience working in the field. Tell us a little bit about that.
My worst experience definitely has to be with the Sheriff's Department. In 2003, I was serving a criminal subpoena on a lady for probably the 300th time in 3 years. And she sicked her 70-pound chow on me. And I ended up putting 2 fractures in an ankle, 20 fractures in my knee. That 3-minute unit broke my wrist and got a nerve disease that spread body-wide from there. They were going after her for 8 to 10 for assault with intent, and she pled out to 1.5 years in state. But that's got to definitely be my absolute worst, because that ended that career. I was not able, because of that nerve disease, I could not return to active duty.
Oh my gosh. And that was while you were with the Sheriff's Department?
Yes.
Oh man. So it was a chow chow, the ones with the black ones with like the purple tongue?
Yeah. I was about halfway back to my unit, and I heard her open the door, and it's like, sick him. I used to carry a little micro cassette recorder in my pocket because people would call in and say I, said a derogatory name or, whatever. And even though it's a he said, she said, something would go on my file. So I'm like, oh, no, this ain't happening. So I'd turn that on, radio in, then continue on serving case number so-and-so on such and such and let it run. Then when I would get one of these complaints, I'd play that tape for my sergeant and my lieutenant. There's my proof that none of this happened, so nothing goes into my file. It's not for legal reasons. It was more just CYA for me.
Yeah, no, that's smart.
And you hear all of that on that tape.
Yeah, that's smart. And so you were able to hear the sick'em?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And, the funny thing is she came out and she's laughing because I couldn't get up off the ground. I couldn't even reach the microphone on my shoulder. I just had to hit the red button, what we call the EPIRB button, which as far as the department's concerned, I've just been shot. And you hear her laughing, and all of a sudden you hear her stop, and literally every point on the compass, sirens are screaming in. I'm right on the border of Altadena, so I got Altadena Sheriff's coming, Pasadena PD coming, fire, ambulance, helicopter.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man. And now, did you already tell me? Did she do jail time?
She pled out to 1.5 years.
Oh yeah.
So it was like, welcome to the family. That's why I served her so many times, is she wasn't a criminal, but all her family and relatives were. And in LA County, only the sheriffs can serve criminal subpoenas from the DAs and public defenders. And so at least once a week for 3 years, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, just where she lived, I'd be banging on her door about 10 after 5 in the morning with one of these subpoenas. And she just went crazy that morning.
I can't tell you how many times I've interviewed people and, the response I got was, I served her a bunch of times, or I served him a bunch of times, and I thought, it's going to be fine. It's been fine every time before. And then this one time. And I got to tell you, dogs are my biggest concern when I'm out serving. I carry a little taser. I don't carry it as much anymore. Maybe just I think that I can handle myself more, but, having a gun and things. But I try not to, I really don't carry very often. And as far as tasers go, have you ever carried a taser, Dave?
No. When needed, I'll take a weapon with me, or I have body armor. I'll wear my body armor. But for the most part, I just try to keep it very low key. And I got to say, I've had way more problems serving for the sheriff's department than I've ever had serving privately.
So what I take from your story, Dave, for the most part, is to CYA. Having that recorder on you allowed you to be able to prove that she wanted her dog to do that. I mean, in some circumstances, the dog could have bit you and she could have gotten in no trouble at all. The dog broke out of the gate or whatever, depending on what her defense might be. So that was a really good thing. So it was just this was an audio recorder or like a video recorder? No,
an audio. It's one of those little tiny cassette recorders where the cassette is like maybe an inch.
Wow.
I mean, totally old school. This is 2003 when this happened, but I started doing it in 2001.
Oh, okay.
2000, because I started with the sheriff's department in 2000.
But that's a technology that they had at that time, and you guys were utilizing it, luckily. So that's a great story. What do you want Server Nation to get from your story?
Well, for me, I think the best thing for any process server is to have total situational awareness. Be aware of what's going on around you, what's going on in front of you, and what's going on behind you. Because I have some areas that I go into covering all of Los Angeles County that are really nasty areas. That means I serve down in Watts and Compton, and I've never even felt fearful down there.
Wow. Either that's because it's not as bad as they say, or you're just a bad mamma jamma.
It can be as bad as they say, but like I said, I keep situational awareness. I see what's going on when I first pull up in front of the property, and if there's stuff going on that I don't feel safe doing it, I'll call for backup. I'll call LAPD or I'll call the local PD and say, hey, I'm a registered process server. I'm here to serve eviction papers. I just need some backup to keep the peace. And they respond.
Oh, I was going to say, because in a lot of counties, they're like, well, we'll see if we could send someone out, and you were there for an hour. Almost doesn't make sense to even, sit around, because sometimes you wonder if they're even going to show. So they actually do. They're pretty supportive down there.
Yeah, they're very supportive, and you just tell them, not I'm just here to serve this. It's I'm registered LA County. I give them my number, and I'm here to serve such and such. This is what's going on. I just need some backup. Or if I show up at private community, which is here in California, they have to allow us access when there's a guard at the gate.
Right.
And, there's been some times where the guard doesn't want to let me in. And it's like, here's the deal. Either you let me in or I'm going to call the PD. One, you're required by state law. And two, you can end up getting arrested for obstruction. And every now and then they'll be like, yeah, no, go ahead and call. I mean, I had one it was hilarious. I waited probably an hour and a half for them to come. It was right up at the top of the mountains in Mulholland, in the Hollywood Hills. The unit they dispatched was from Santa Monica.
Wow.
And it was a sergeant and a senior officer. And I said, yeah, I'm here. I showed him my ID and the papers, and he wouldn't let me in. And I even showed him the statute. And he's like, wait a minute. You showed him the statute and he's still not letting you in? No, went right over at him. You're going to open this gate or I'm going to put the cuffs on you. He showed you're required to let him in. But they said we're not supposed to. I don't care. And I went in and I served the papers. I came out and he was still lecturing this kid.
That's cool. You like those little wins when you can stick it to them like that. That's awesome, Dave. Tell me about your greatest experience working in the field.
Well, my funnest one, where I get the most satisfaction, is where I get those people that just absolutely think I'm not going to be able to get them, and that one I was just telling you about was actually one of those. And I had like 6 bad addresses, and it was for a debtor examination. So I had to get her personally, and finally came up with this address. And when I served her, she was just, because I had another guard go with me, she's just screaming and losing her mind about, you're not supposed to let them on there. It's like, the LAPD's out there. They said we have to let them go on. Well, I'm going to have you fired. I'm not getting fired over you. And I'd actually talked to her on the phone, and she said, good luck finding me, and hung up.
Oh, wow.
So those are the ones that I'm just like, yeah. The ones that I also really enjoy are when I can get somebody that is an abuser, someone that abuses women or children, that I can get them served and get that restraining order on them, so that there's at least something to stop this abuse from going on. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones I get a real good satisfaction out of.
Those are good ones. So, Dave, I got to call you out on this one, man. I know that you have a story in your back pocket that you call the greatest story of all time. We got to hear it.
20 years in this business, this story will never be beat. I've got an attorney client that one of his clients, he shares an office with a modeling agency. And they've discovered that a lot of their their images are being used without their knowledge and consent to advertise for strip clubs and swingers clubs and sex magazines. So in the last 3 years, I've probably served every stripper club, nudie bar, gentleman's club, sex rag in LA and Orange County.
You poor guy.
And I got this one. I got this one, and it was for a swingers club down by USC campus. And I, my family knows what I'm doing. And when I get an amusing one, I'd be like, oh, this ought to be interesting. And I told my daughter. And so she actually looked the place up, and I was out in the field, and she called me, and she's like, Dad, guess what? Guess what night it is at that place you're going? I don't know. What night is it? It's pantsless night. What are you wearing? I'm not there to participate. I'm wearing my pants, of course. So I get there, and while I'm waiting for the owner to come out, this big white limousine, stretch limo, pulls up, and this fine woman, I mean a perfect 10, gets out of the car holding a dog leash. And I think, well, it's going to be like a little Pomeranian or something come out of the car. No, this guy comes out of the car wearing a leather hood and no top and assless chaps. So I start laughing, and this guy goes running up to me till he gets to the end of the dog leash, and it's like, eek! And now I'm busting a gut. I can hardly stand. I'm laughing so hard. He's like, officer, I want your badge number. I'm reporting you to your supervisor. And it's like, good luck with that. I own the company. Besides that, you're the one on the end of a dog collar wearing a leather hood and ashless chaps. You earned the laugh.
Oh, man, that must have been quite an experience.
It was funny. Like I said, 20 years in this business, that story will never be beat.
I don't think. I'm going to put it on the show notes, and we're going to see as time goes on. We'll see if anybody, that'll be the challenge.
Okay, yeah, here you go.
So, Dave, what are you working on right now that has you most fired up?
Well, as far as things in the industry, the thing that has me most fired up are the unscrupulous people that pass themselves off as professional servers. That they go out and they'll promise service or no payment, or they charge a ridiculously small price. I had a friend that she lost her house because of a fraudulent service, and she contacted me. She was in the middle of a refi on her house and got notice that the house had been foreclosed and auctioned off, and they had 30 days to leave. So she called me, and I said, well, first thing you got to do is you got to get in that file and look at that proof of service, because of your schedule, you're all over the place. And if you can prove you were not there and it says personal service, you've got a case. So they've got a huge lawsuit going against the process server, the attorney service, the attorneys, and the bank. But because it was already sold in auction, she has no prayer of getting this house back. And she was really devastated because 3 of her 5 kids were home birthed in that house.
That's terrible. I experienced that same situation with a lot of the unlawful detainers I do in mobile home parks. A lot of times the mobile home park people are, they do the eviction. I've actually done an eviction on a friend of mine because they were saying she was a nuisance. I told her, you need to get an attorney, and she waited too long till the last minute, and she ended up having to move out of the house. They get the property and they make it difficult. So even in auction, you'd have to, if you won the auction, you'd have to move the trailer off the park. That's the way they word the situation. That's the way they word it. But so sewer service has been running rampant. In a few other states, I noticed that they were talking about passing a law to have cameras on process servers. It's one of the ideas that I saw that was proposed, and I'm not sure exactly what state it is. I'll have to look it up, maybe post it in the show notes for this episode. But what do you think about that, making something like that required for process servers?
Well, I think it was New York that actually changed their law that their anything that is served and attempts has to have some sort of a photo that's date, time, and geocoded stamped. And it was because of all the sewer service, and I think the one in particular was ABC Legal got a huge judgment against them for that.
I heard about that, yeah, ABC Legal.
And it's, so one of the company, really the only attorney service that I do work for is called Firefly Legal. They've got 16 offices in the Midwest and the East Coast, and I'm contracted to do all their LA County stuff. And the reason I work for them is they pay me my rate. They don't pay me some pittance. They pay me my rate. And when I do the attempts and stuff, as I'm filling it out in their software, it shows the geocode, because I have to put in all the other information, but right at the bottom, it shows the geocode where I'm at, the GPS location. So they have a record of that. So I think that kind of stuff is a really good idea. On my own, if I'm doing a posting, I just take a picture on my camera phone and that has that on that. And then I'll print the picture out and send it to the attorney so they've got it.
Yeah, that's really good. And now most of the apps have an option to be able to take a photograph and attach it right there on the job. Serve Manager, TriStar, and I'm sure there are others that do the same thing. So Dave, what do you want Server Nation to get from what you're working on right now? What do you think that the servers out there should be thinking about when it comes to all of this sewer service talk?
I think the best thing is to keep very detailed notes. I keep hard copy notes of all my attempts, all the service situations, who I served, what their description is. And probably once a year, I'll get called in to court because somebody's challenging service. And about half those times, once I write up my declaration and send it to the attorney, I don't even have to show up. They just drop it. And other times when I've actually had to go in and testify, I've had the judge look them dead in the eyes and say, you say you're out of town. I want to see some receipts and notes because according to his testimony and his description of you, you were absolutely served.
That's good. Yeah, I always love when I go in there and they say they weren't served the notice. They always like to contest the notice. And I have a date and time and GPS stamp photograph of the posting on their house. In some cases, them walking into the door or whatever.
Yeah.
And the judge just shakes his head like, so you never saw this, man? Come on.
I mean, another thing that I also do when I have to do a mailing is I send my clients back the receipt that shows that at this post office on this date at this time to this city and this zip code, there was a letter sent. So that's further back up that the mailing went.
Now, are you talking about the certification or you just put them as the return address?
No, when you do a posting and mailing.
Yeah.
Or when you do a subserve and have to mail the copy.
Oh, the certified, yeah.
Where I have to put on the proof of service, I mail a copy on this date from this location to the address where we're served. I make sure that I don't just, I pay for it at the post office, so I get that mailing receipt,
right.
And then I send my clients that too, so they've got more backup.
Right, that's good. Yeah, what we started doing was putting, how when you send certified, not certified, but just first class mail, when you subserve something, we started putting our clients as a return address so we don't have to shred the documents. And it's like a double verification when it gets sent back. Because a lot of times, a lot of the evictions that we do, it's a vacant property. So the certified stuff ends up getting sent back to our client. Server Nation, Dave has been dropping some major value bombs on us so far today, but prepare yourself because we're headed into the rapid fire round right after a word from our sponsors. Server Nation, imagine what you could do with another 25 minutes per job. This is how much time process servers who use Server Manager are saving. At just 100 jobs per month, that's over 40 hours that can be spent growing your business or doing more important things like spending time with your family. From job creation to affidavit generation, Server Manager is full-featured and hands down the most intuitive process serving software on the market. I use it for my business. I think you should use it too. In my firm, it's important for me to be able to automate the systems that get things done. Serve Manager has done just that with their API integration, where you can set up literally any app that integrates with Zapier will integrate with Serve Manager. I love it. I've set my whole firm up. Go to processserverdaily.com/Serve Manager to get your free trial. If you like it after the 14-day free trial, they've offered to give you another 60 days for free as a thank you for being a Process Server Daily listener. That's processserverdaily.com/Serve Manager. Welcome back to the show. Dave, are you ready for the rapid fire round?
Yes, I am.
What is your favorite Skiptrace tactic?
My favorite tactic is to definitely find out where they were before. Get whatever information that I can from the client first, because then that allows me to do a better skip trace. Because it might be that one little piece of information that leads me to the correct information that I'm looking for.
That's good. Do you use a form, or are you just working with email?
No, I just work it with email and whatever information. That's how I get most of my jobs, is by email. They mail them to me by email, and I tell them I printed and received okay, and then I keep them advised throughout the whole process.
That's great. Dave, what's your favorite tool for defense?
Definitely would have to be my fists. I don't play around. Again, my first defense is situational awareness.
Good, yeah.
But if somebody takes that first swing, mine's going to break your nose, and my second one's going in your throat, and you're not getting up. We're done.
So, Dave, I want to know more about that really fast. Are you a ninja?
No, I've just had a lot of good training over the years. I spent most of the 80s running security for most of the NFL and all the Super Bowls, concert tours all over the country. I've been riots from 50 people to 5,000 people.
That's good stuff, Dave. What book would you recommend?
For the process servers, I would recommend whatever your code of civil procedure is. Know exactly what you can do and when you can do it and how you can do it.
That's good. Dave, what is the greatest advice you've ever received?
Greatest advice I ever got was from my grandfather, who's actually the man I considered to be my father, because he taught me what it was to be a man and how to be a father. And he always said, having integrity is doing the right thing even when nobody's looking. And we as process servers, we have to have integrity. Number one, our clients have to know that when we do something and we say that we did something, they have absolute confidence that it happened exactly the way we said it did.
That's a good one. One of my favorite quotes is, "Your actions are speaking so loud, I can't hear what you're saying." Dave, what would you do if you woke up today, had all the same skills and knowledge, had no clients, a smartphone, a car, and only $100, what would you do in the next week?
Definitely it would be to get a website, and then take whatever I've got left from that and get some nice flyers printed up. And the way that I got a lot of clients when I first started back in 96 is I would stand out in front of the courthouses, dress nice, and give them my card and a flyer and let them know what I do. And, I picked up a lot of clients like that, especially a lot of those coming out from doing the self-filings for small claims.
That's good. I've always said that when I retire, I'm going to go stand in front of the courthouse, and I'm going to have a new company. It's going to be called the Bad News Bear, and I'm just going to have a big bear suit on, and I'm going to stand in front of the courthouse and hand out cards. It'll be a little plastic bear that'll be like, "I serve people," and then because you're retired, you can do whatever you want to do when you're retired.
Technically, I am retired. This is my retirement job, was to go back into this. I finally got my pension and benefits for life from the sheriff's department because it was injured in the line of duty, and I really enjoy process serving. I've always liked helping people, and I've always viewed what we do as process servers as we're helping start the wheels of justice for the person that got, screwed over to begin with, because they can't get any justice until somebody serves somebody else.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Some of my attorney clients, friends will say, as soon as we get in the courtroom, the first thing they say is, do you have a proof of service? And if you don't have a proof of service, you got to have a reason or a declaration or something to continue the hearing. And sometimes it just means you lose your case. So that's good. Yeah, we get the wheels of justice moving. We got quite a few good quotes going here. So Dave, so we talked about the website. We talked about standing out in front of the courthouse. Would you agree that networking is one of the most important things?
It definitely is important. Join your local chamber of commerce, join some of the national associations if you can afford it. But definitely get your name out there and make sure that the name you're getting out there is a good one, because that's how I get most of my referrals. I mean, I had one of my clients actually referred me to the Michigan Office of the Attorney General, that I now serve stuff that they send out here to LA.
Wow.
I mean, I thought it was a joke when I got the email, and I replied back and was like, no, it actually is the Michigan Office of the Attorney General.
Well, I got to tell you, I was going to say, because networking to me seems like one of your big strengths. Anybody that I talked to that I asked, serving in that area, they go, go to Dave Luce. So that's
yeah. And my clients, especially the ones that are new, one thing they really appreciate is that they don't have to think about it once they give it to me. It doesn't go into that black hole void, and they don't know the progress with it or the attempts or anything like that. And I mean, I have clients that will, like I said, they'll pay me a lot of money to go as far south as San Diego and as far north as Santa Barbara.
Wow.
They know they can find somebody else cheaper, but they know they're not going to find anybody better.
Right.
So they'll send me and pay me several $100s.
Well, Dave, you are the man. And what I take most from that story is to watch your name and your credibility. What are some of the main things that process servers do to ruin their credibility?
I would say promising the moon and not delivering it. Saying, "Oh, well, I'll get this done, within X amount of time," and then not doing it.
That's good.
The way I base my regular service is 3 attempts done within a week of me getting the papers. And so sometimes it's a lot faster, but I'm not going to say, "Oh, well, I'll get to it tomorrow," because I may have a rush that's going, 30 miles the other way and I can't get to it. So I just give them a range of dates. They're also happy that I get it done so quickly.
So Dave, what is the best way that we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye?
Well, my website is www.lovetoservethem, all one word, .com. You can find me on Facebook at Love to Serve Them LLC. You can also find me on Yelp at Love to Serve Them. I try to, I'm on LinkedIn under the same. I try to keep it fairly simple because, again, I'm a one-man operation.
Yeah.
And I would much prefer that I get, like with Yelp. I almost never get a client off Yelp. The ones that call me off Yelp, they're looking for an attorney, or they want something for nothing, or I'll tell them my price, and it's like, well, do you guarantee service? No. Well, I've talked to others that guarantee service for less, and I'm like, run. Do not use that, because of course they're going to say they served it when they didn't, because they want to get paid.
Yeah, that's one element that people don't really recognize sometimes is like, this isn't a McDonald's drive-through, right? You're not just like transactionally paying them and then they're doing something that's, if it's important to you, then pay the money. Right? Like I've noticed that most of the time attorneys and paralegals, they don't even blink an eye at my $79, $99 rates. They don't even blink an eye. They just say, okay, because they pass it on to their clients and they know that you're professional and you're going to take care of it. So I love that, Dave. All of Dave's information is going to be available in the show notes on his page. You can go to processserverdaily.com/Dave. And that'll take you to his show notes page. Dave, I want to personally thank you for being on the show. I have been impressed with your story, and I'm excited to share it with the world.
I appreciate it, Michael. I see all your posts all the time, and you definitely keep me laughing, but you also have a lot of great information, especially for those new servers.
That's good.
I would say the one thing for somebody that's new coming into this, that doesn't know what process serving is all about, is you just have to remember that you're blindsiding people with legal notices. And yes, they're going to get upset, but don't take it personally. You have to have a thick skin to do this job.
That's good. Thank you for adding that, Dave. I appreciate it. So until next time, Server Nation, you've been served up some awesomeness by Dave Luce, the process server, and Mighty Mike, the podcast server. Don't forget to get your free 60-day trial from Serve Manager at processserverdaily.com/Serve Manager. Server Nation, I want to personally thank you for listening to today's episode and ask you a question. Do you or your staff need additional training? Can you handle more clients but not sure where to get them? I've developed a solution. PSDUniversity.com offers a step-by-step online training by the top legal support professionals in the industry. Visit PSDUniversity.com.